Bloodruth #1. Now, the character of Bloodruth was first introduced in Isom #2, and with that debut of Syndee Bloodruth in Isom #2, there was a lot about her character, just what we found out about her in the story of Isom #2 that really intrigued fans. Of course, getting her Dokuman card, I believe in the second set of Dokuman cards, if I'm not mistaken, just added to the intrigue. So people really, or I should say the fans really wanted Bloodruth to get her own story, and the Rippaverse did much better for us in giving us an ongoing series, with the first issue being written by Jen and Sylvia Soska, and the artwork coming from Michael Montanet, who was the winner of the Isom #2 fan art contest. And the Soskas, being horror veterans, of course, they've got a pretty long and storied history of horror films, and they are also the lore masters of the Rippaverse, so they are the literal perfect candidates to bring this story to life, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. So I'm going to break this story down. I'm going to give a good review with plenty of spoilers, because there is a lot the Soskas use from the Rippaverse's past, as well as establishing the character of Bloodruth and other characters to be her heel and to be her collaborator. So we're going to get right into this story. This story, of course, starts with Genesis chapter 4, I should say. It's based off of Genesis chapter 4, the bloodline of the Bloodruths. And of course, if you don't know your biblical history, Genesis chapter 4 is what narrates the murder of Abel by his brother Cain. God curses Cain for doing this. It's where he asks, "Am I my brother's keeper?" He lies about that, but of course, God is able to tell, and that is all narrated in this. So I'd say it's a decently accurate adaptation of what happened in the 4th chapter of Genesis, and that is used as a launching pad to establish Cain being marked, as that is narrated in Genesis, and using that marking of Cain and him being cast out by God due to the sin he committed against his brother as the foundation for the bloodline of the Bloodruths, who are, of course, blood witches that are tasked with hunting demons. They are called Hellions, and they find these creatures of hell and they send them back to whence they came. This story picks up in the modern day, where Bloodruth has lost her entire family just about, except for her father, but her father is a shell of her former self, and she is pushed. I believe this is her mother being possessed by one of the demons, and that is established later on in the story. She's sent to Florespark because she feels a lot of dark energy coming from there, and that's what really starts this story out, and it's what also ties the story into the Rippaverse. So the Soskas do a really fantastic job of establishing the character of Bloodruth very quickly, of that really nice exposition and introduction. It's really short, it's punchy, and given the fact that there are a lot of religious themes, we can go back and to the beginning here. Of course, you've got, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but you've got a statue of Mary. Mary is called Mother of God. Theotokos, that's a very, I'd say, Catholic and Orthodox Christian belief. Don't necessarily want to get into theological debate, but this has very much so a lot of Christian themes in this book. It draws off of the Christian history, the Christian history that's established in the Bible. So that spiritual history and the concept of spiritual warfare in the Christian life is very well expressed in this book, and I absolutely love to see that. And I think with the Soskas being Catholic, it does have a Catholic slant. So if you are very invested in your denomination of Christianity, and that isn't Catholic or something that conforms with the Catholic dogmas on Mary, then you might be a bit hecked by this. But if you're someone who's not religious, the religious themes, while they are there, they are very present. They're not overbearing and didactic, so you are going to enjoy the story. And I think for fans of horror, fans of comics with plenty of action, this story is going to have a lot of punch in that it does. And to comment on the art, Michael Montanet offers a fantastic job here. Hopefully he stays attached as the artist for this series, because his style is absolutely perfect for Bloodruth, and it fits in right with the Rippaverse. When you're reading Isom 2, this book feels like a very natural extension of the character of Bloodruth, and of course the castle that is introduced in the story of Bloodruth, and we can get to a little bit of it here. So this is the castle. It's in Florespark, and another really interesting thing is that there's a really great mix of new characters that are introduced along with returning characters. So Gooding plays a pretty big role, and of course, I should say that in Isom 2, Gooding is aware of Bloodruth. He knows her, and that is why, and this book narrates how. And of course, you've got a little scene with Stefania showing her faith, because she is a woman of faith in Yaira #1 that the Saskas also wrote. So that's a very interesting thing as well. It adds a little bit of characterization, and it feels quite natural, and it's inconsequential to the story if you're a new time reader. But if you're someone who's read Yaira #1, then this scene has more emotional depth while not detracting from Bloodruth's main story, which is an absolutely fantastic thing. So the Saskas really struck the story well to offer a lot to people who are just picking this up because it interested them, and to people like me who are very much invested in the Rippaverse and have read everything that they've put out, because the impetus for the story is that Bloodruth feels a lot of evil energy coming from Florespark, so she goes to Florespark and sees his castle. Gooding says the castle's infested with dark energy, or I say there's an unwanted intruder. I'm tasked with getting it out of here, and here are my clients, and the clients are Michael Copper and Lily Renashi, who have made appearances in basically almost every Rippaverse book. I believe the exception being Yaira. They have not appeared in Yaira to my knowledge, but they are in Isom very briefly. They have a really big role in Alpha Core, and they've got that role in Horseman at the very end, and they aren't in Gooding, so it's just Gooding and Yaira that they aren't in. But they are definitely prominent villains in the Rippaverse, and they do a really good job at being the impetus for the story, in terms of tasking Bloodruth with taking out the intruders in this castle that ends up being 3 great demons and a devil. That's in the characters of Choke, Deertick, Faye, and Morningstar, and they were all summoned by Master Firon, who I believe is shown in this black and white cover, and I'll show off some of the art for the black and white edition, because a lot of people are saying that is the superior version. And after flipping through it just a little bit, I think the colors really pop. Brett Smith does such a fantastic job that I preferred the colored version of this book. But I am going to talk about the 1-2 page spread in this book. There really isn't much art that isn't like this, where it shows off a lot of big art, or I should say like more grandiose scenes. You got a couple of scenes like that, but much more of it is just a lot of simple panel work. This is, one of the, more, like I said, this is where a lot of the spreads will show up. They'll be surrounded with panels and lettering, and you don't have a 2-page spread. But this was mentioned by Eric, saying that they were going for the cinematic appeal where you flip the page over and it's supposed to be like the camera panning to Choke and being this really dramatic moment. And I think it does not come off it doesn't really come off that well, especially where you've got Choke and the corpse that he's dancing with in this scene. It doesn't really give this scene doesn't give grounding to the reader to have this cinematic pan happening. And in my opinion, you would have had a much more of an impact if you just had flipped over to the next page and saw that 2-page spread. You were able to take that all in as one spread and then move on with reading the book. So if this book does get reprinted, which it most likely will, or I should say the second printing of this book should definitely have that as a continuous 2-page spread without having to flip through. And I think that would be the much better artistic choice to make. But that is just of course, my opinion. But I think with the reactions I've seen, it's mostly split. And from what I've seen of people reading this book so far, they aren't saying it's a bad book. So this, by no means, it doesn't ruin anything. It's one scene. It does detract from it a little bit, but Choke, while he is an intimidating character, I absolutely love his design. All of the character designs are really nice. For the new characters, and Michael Montagne pays really great homage to characters like Gooding, Michael Copper, Lillian Renashi. If you've read other Rippaverse books where those characters have appeared, you are going to recognize them as an absolutely fantastic thing. For fans of these characters to recognize them when they're being depicted by other artists. That's a problem with other universes, but that certainly is not a problem of the Rippaverse. So artistically, Michael Montagne does a good job. That was just really an editorial choice to have that 1-2 page spread be broken up like that, and I think that was the wrong choice to make. So having that as a 2-page spread would be the much better thing. But like I said, all of the art looks absolutely fantastic in this book. It's grounded with a really nice story. So the Saskas do a fantastic job at establishing the character of Bloodruth, integrating it with a lot of Christian lore. Of course, having her bloodline descend from Cain, and having her family be cursed to be blood witches that attract demons is an inherently interesting concept. It ties into a lot of religious themes, and it really gives a great introduction for a lot of the more supernatural elements of the Rippaverse, and that is exemplified in the last page of this book, because Bloodruth #1 is the first Rippaverse comic to have an interior appearance of Dokuman. So of course, Dokuman was introduced to the fan base through the Dokuman archives, where there are these big lenticular trading cards, the first pack coming with the Isom #1 campaign, the second being sold with the Yaira #1 campaign, the third deck being with the Bloodruth #1 campaign, and this fourth deck having launched with Isom #3. So there is a good amount of Dokuman's archives. Of course, him being this supernatural character that's keeping tabs on every accept, also being able to travel between dimensions like Bloodruth, saying that there's a chain of events that have been set off, really gives a clue to the reader that there is going to be a lot going on in the Rippaverse, and a lot of it is going to center around Bloodruth. So her ongoing series is going to be very important for the general lore of the Rippaverse, and I absolutely love this depiction of Dokuman. It's an absolutely fantastic thing to have the book end like this, because it's that perfect mix of cliffhanger along with a satisfying, conclusive ending, which is really what you need if you want to have a good ongoing series. And of course, want to emphasize the character designs that are in color. So you've got, I believe that was Faye. This is Morningstar. You've got absolutely fantastic scenes like this. Very much these demonic, this demonic slave-like imagery. Of course, you've got this absolutely fantastic character design found in Morningstar, found in Faye, found with her shadow dragon, whose name is Othello, and you find out more about the origins of her family, her brothers, her mother, how they got lost, and of course how her relationship with her father fell off the wayside. So, going to show off some of the black and white art, and like I said before, I do think that the black and white version of this book looks absolutely fantastic, but it's not necessarily better for me than the colored version. Of course, an absolutely subjective thing. I think some people are going to think that the black and white version is the main version of this book, and the colored version is inferior to that. So this is more of a subjective thing. The line work is really, really clean. That's a testament to Michael Montagne's skill, that this art looks so fantastic to look at in black and white, but I think the colors just add so much to the reading experience that I really do not want to let them go. But it's definitely really nice to look at. So that is definitely one thing I love about this book, is that it's in black and white and color, because I think both versions are really fantastic, and it's absolutely It's absolutely amazing that, like I said, Mike Montanay's artwork looks just as clean when it's colored versus just those pencils and inks. But that is really all I wanted to say. This is the D cover for Bloodruth. This is the family portrait. I believe this cover was done by Montanay. I was showing you guys the B cover. That is the retro cover done by, I believe it is Joshua Burlow. Joshua Burlow is the artist for this. So hopefully you guys enjoy this review. An absolutely fantastic book. Really stellar start to the ongoing series of Bloodruth #1. Establishes a really interesting story that you can wrap your head around as a new reader, along with giving a lot to chew on for fans of the Rippaverse in this one story, and a lot to look forward to for the continued lore and world building of the Rippaverse as her ongoing series unfolds in issue #2, which is confirmed, and of course all the other ones that are most likely going to be coming to the fans over the course of the months and years as we get more and more books, from the Rippaverse. The series of Bloodruth being just a smattering of that selection. But I've rambled on enough. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Joker is out.